Hello and a very warm welcome. It's 9 p.m. IST. I'm Molly Gambhir. You are watching Gravitas with a new look, but the same old spirit. Let's get started. Spain has stopped a mystery ship headed for Israel from docking at its port, triggering a series of questions. That's our top story tonight on Gravitas as we tell you more about this mystery ship and why it is in the news. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you all about India's growth story. The United Nations has just revised India's growth projection higher for 2024 to a stellar 6.9%. We tell you what that means. The US has added 26 Chinese cotton companies to the import ban list. What was the trigger? What would this mean for supply chains? Has China realized that it is communist? A recent crackdown by Chinese social media companies targets posts that show off personal wealth. We also tell you all about the rise in AI scams and why it's worrying. All this and more coming up on the show tonight.
Una nueva etapa en nuestras relaciones con Marruecos.
Spain has stopped a mystery ship from docking at its port. Spain has stopped a mystery ship headed for Israel from docking at its port. And why is that? Because it was carrying arms to Israel. This is an explosive story. In a first, a member nation of the European Union, a friend of Israel, has denied such a docking permission to a ship flying the flag of Denmark and heading for Israel. But all we have here are questions after questions. Let's start off with what we know about this mystery ship. Its name is Marian Danica. As per the publicly available data, this is a general cargo ship. A Spanish newspaper called El País claims that the ship departed from India with 27 tons of explosives. That's an explosive claim. Let's check the facts. As per a ship tracking portal, on the 23rd of February, the ship set sail from Kaohsiung in Taiwan. What was it doing in Taiwan? It arrived in Chennai on the 13th of March. It spent 12 hours at the port, and from there, the ship set sail for Sohar in Oman. It arrived at Sohar on the 26th of March. Spent 5 hours at the port. Doing what exactly? Did it refuel? Unload something? What can you possibly unload from a ship in 5 hours? We don't know. What we do know is that after 5 hours, the ship set sail for Mina Sakar. That's a UAE port. Marian Danica docked at the UAE on the 28th of March. It again spent 5 hours there. Why did it stop at 2 Arab ports? The ship's next stop was Chennai. It was the second call to Chennai. As per Vessel Finder, the ship was in Chennai on the 8th of April. It spent 9 hours in the port. Then the mystery ship set sail for Cartagena in Spain. And as we told you, the ship was supposed to dock in Spain on the 21st of May, but that permission has now been denied. Spain says the ship is carrying weapons for Israel. Spain's Transport Minister, Oscar Puente, said on the platform X that Marian Danica was carrying a cargo of arms. Spain denied port of call to the mystery ship, Marian Danica, after the government was criticized for letting a ship named Borkum dock in Cartagena. Pro-Palestine activists alleged that Borkum was carrying 20 tons of rocket motors, plus 12.5 tons of rockets, 1.5 tons of explosives, 740 kilos of cannon propellant charges. We are talking specific numbers here, the kind of details that are generally not public knowledge. These details triggered an online campaign to deny port call to Borkum. As per the publicly available information on ship tracking website, Borkum is sailing under the flag of Antigua Barbuda. It is German-owned. Borkum's last few trips have been from Daman in Saudi Arabia to Jebel Ali in UAE. And from there, it went to Qasr in Iraq, Hamdriya in the UAE, Kandla in India, Chennai in India. From Chennai, the ship was bound for Spain. This is as per a website called myshiptracking.com. Now, Borkum was supposed to arrive at Spain's Cartagena port yesterday. Ship tracking websites claim Borkum did spend 11 hours and 5 minutes in Cartagena, but pro-Palestinian groups say the ship left Spanish waters without docking at Cartagena. And here's a question no one is asking in Spain. Why have these ships tried to dock in Spain? Were they trying to refuel? What was it? Now, as per ship tracking websites, Borkum is en route Koper in Slovenia. You see, these ships are going around the world. They are everywhere except in Israel. So how do you know they are carrying weapons for Israel? The world is abuzz with rumors and questions like, is India also sending military equipment to Israel? But the ship stopped in Chennai for only 9 hours. Is that enough to load weapons and complete the paperwork at the dock? Spain, by the way, should know about arms sales. It used to, till not so long ago, sell arms to Israel. There are too many loose ends in this story, and now you know why we said it is a mystery ship. The world is watching as India's economy surges forward. The United Nations has just revised India's growth projection higher for 2024 to a stellar 6.9%. And this puts India in the Premier League, outpacing the likes of China and leaving many economies in the dust, from Russia to the US and Brazil. But what is driving this incredible surge? Robust domestic consumption driven by a growing middle class, fueling demand across industries. India's resilient private sector is also a key player, with strong public investment further propelling growth. India's burgeoning middle class, now over 300 million strong, has a seemingly insatiable appetite for everything from smartphones to automobiles. And this fuels a virtuous cycle. Businesses cater to this demand, which in turn creates jobs and fuels even more spending. And add to that a resilient private sector, constantly innovating and expanding. And you have the recipe for economic fireworks. India's economic might is not just impressive, it's historic. This year, India is projected to keep its fastest growing major economy tag, outpacing China comfortably again. This is a monumental shift in the Asian economic landscape, and it's all thanks to India's unique strengths. One key driver is India's young population, a demographic dividend that's the envy of many countries. This vast pool of talent provides a seemingly endless supply of skilled labor, a crucial ingredient for any growing economy. Moreover, India's tech sector has emerged as a global powerhouse, churning out software, providing tech-enabled services, and raking in significant export revenue. This, coupled with rising foreign direct investment, is propelling India's growth to new heights. Meanwhile, China faces a turbulent period as trade tensions escalate with the US. The economy is suffering from weak domestic demand and plunging real estate sector. The data reveals that foreign investments have considerably faded as emerging powerhouses like India offer better returns on investment. Microsoft recently, in fact, asked its China employees to relocate amid rising geopolitical tussle with America. You see, the future for the Indian economy shimmers with a lot of promise. The World Trade Centers Association seeing India as a land of opportunity, a magnet for global investment. This is not just hype. India's rapid growth, skilled workforce, strategic location, making it an irresistible destination for investors. And looking ahead, experts predict India's economic momentum to continue. And as India continues to invest in its growth, it is well on its way to reshaping the global landscape for years to come. The US-China trade war has reignited. We told you this. Here's more news now. The United States has blocked import of Xinjiang cotton. 26 Chinese traders and warehouse facilities have been added to Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list. This list names businesses that are allegedly involved in exploiting forced labor from Xinjiang in China. Now, most of you already know what's happening in Xinjiang. Let me recap in the interest of those who are not Gravitas regulars. China has put more than 1 million Uyghur Muslims in detention camps in Xinjiang. China calls these camps vocational education and training centers. Uyghurs who managed to get out of Xinjiang describe these facilities as concentration camps. Uyghurs have been in these camps since 2017. As per reports released by the United Nations Human Rights Office, inmates of these are often tortured. They are subject to cruel, degrading treatment. Uyghurs are forced to renounce Islam, sing praise for the Chinese Communist Party and communism. Women who have managed to escape these camps share stories of sexual abuse and rape. Men and women in these camps are victims of forced labor. They are forced to work in cotton fields and in cotton factories. There is a global campaign to boycott products from such factories and products linked to Xinjiang in general. Now, with the addition of 26 more entities in America's Xinjiang-specific import ban list, the total number of companies on the list has gone up to 65. The US banned all imports linked to Xinjiang in the year 2022. But a study released earlier this month found that traces of banned Chinese cotton were found in 19% of a sample of merchandise selling at US. In fact, this includes clothes, cotton swabs, shoes being sold online and offline. A US government report published in 2022 established that cotton from Xinjiang accounted for roughly 87% of China's production. It also accounted for 23% of the global supply in 2020, 2021. So Washington is now targeting supply chains, the middlemen who source cotton from Xinjiang and sell it to Chinese companies. The US is targeting Chinese businesses that are aware of the source of the cotton but continue to buy from Xinjiang. Now, these companies will not be able to sell any of its products to the US as their names are on the list. It is good news for human rights. The Dutch far-right leader, Geert Wilders, has finally reached an agreement to form a coalition. His party, For Freedom, emerged as the clear winner in the elections last year, shockingly so. But after the victory, it took Wilders 6 months to strike a deal with its coalition partners. In an unconventional move, Wilders will not be the next Prime Minister of the Netherlands. But he will still hold the reins of the government. He will still influence policies, and that in itself may be a reason for alarm. I say that because of Wilders' harsh anti-Islam stance. Let me tell you more about this man now. He has been called the Dutch Donald Trump. He has received countless death threats from Islamic extremists. The UK once banned him from entering the country. Wilders may be a radical and a firebrand, but he is also liked by many of the Dutch voters. He burst into the Dutch national politics scene some 25 years ago. His sweeping mane of blonde hair earned him the nickname Mozart. And since then, his hair has greyed, but his popularity seems to be at its peak. In the run-up to the vote, Wilders regularly outperformed rivals on television debates, mostly because of his slick slogans on asylum and immigration. The Netherlands can't take it anymore. We have to think about our own people first now. So on and so forth. Wilders would say, borders closed, zero asylum seekers. Those who have been talking about his policies. In fact, he proposed a ban on Islamic headscarves in public buildings, declared that his party would ban the Quran, close mosques and Islamic schools. Now that he is in power, his government is planning to impose the strictest asylum policy ever. Wilders has announced it already, in fact. Listen to this.
The sun will shine again in the Netherlands. I think that anyone who reads the agreement between all four of us can see that a lot is going to change in the Netherlands. The strictest asylum policy ever. There will be an asylum crisis law. We are withdrawing the asylum distribution law. There will be border controls, mobile and otherwise. There will be a ban on priority in obtaining social housing for status holders due to the fact that they are status holders. We are going to fight for an opt-out on asylum in the European Union. Asylum permits for an indefinite period will be abolished. Like I said, the strictest asylum policy ever.
Grenscontroles, mobiel en anderszins. Komt een
Now, despite holding these views, if you would ask Wilders if he is far-right, he would straight away deny it. According to him, he is simply speaking for the ordinary people of the Netherlands, those who are apparently feeling ignored and mistreated due to immigrants. While Wilders' maverick, straight-talking nature appeals to a considerable part of the Dutch population, it has also landed him in trouble on many occasions. He has been making rounds of courts for years. Why is that? For his verbal attacks on immigrants. In 2014, he was convicted of insulting Moroccans for leading a chant at a rally demanding fewer Moroccans. During the 2017 election campaign, he referred to Dutch Moroccans as quote-unquote scum. Now, is it because of such remarks that Mr. Wilders has made so many enemies? For close to 20 years, he has had 24-hour security. He faces multiple threats to his life. In fact, Wilders once said he could no longer imagine what it was like to walk down a street by himself. Wilders is now well in his 60s. For the last 30 years now, he has been married to a former Hungarian diplomat. His wife does not make any public appearances. She leads a private life, closed off from the media. Although much of Wilders' career has been spent in opposition, he now finds himself in the central position of power. After 6 months, he has managed to form a coalition. But if political analysts are to be believed, it's a rather fragile one. The government faces a series of challenges: housing crisis, asylum policy, the impact of the climate crisis, balancing budgets. These are just some of them. Will Wilders and his coalition actually pull through? Shifting our focus now to New Caledonia. Is France losing control of its overseas territory? It sure looks like that. It is beefing up presence in the archipelago. Police reinforcements have arrived in New Caledonia. Still, French representatives have declared that parts of the territory are out of state control. Our next report brings you up to speed with the latest from on the ground.
After 4 nights of violent clashes, an eerie calm has fallen on the French territory of New Caledonia. The streets of capital Nomia remain strewn with torched vehicles, shattered glasses, debris. The residents were seen dragging the remnants off the road. Is this the calm before another storm? The French government has said parts of New Caledonia have escaped state control. It seems France is losing grip over its former colony, but it is frantically trying to get a hold of it. More police reinforcements have arrived in New Caledonia. The number of French personnel on the island are expected to rise from 1,700 to 2,700. The Kanaks are not happy with the move. Listen to what they had to say.
We're part of various structures and our elders are holding talks locally. So we wish for the situation to calm down, of course, and to see the French government make a strong political statement rather than send troops. That's not something that will get talks back on track. Starting a conversation would be a strong political statement. Sending the army to another country is not usually to hold talks.
Since the beginning of the week, 5 people have died in the riots, 2 of whom are police officers. Over 300 have been injured. 64 of them are police and security forces. Last night was relatively calm after the imposition of emergency. But there were still points of confrontation and concern in Nomia. One person has been arrested on suspicion of killing 2 members of the indigenous tribe Kanak. Another homicide suspect has turned himself in. Authorities estimate there are about 5,000 rioters. Some 200 of them have been detained. 5 suspected independence activists accused of organizing violence have been put on house arrest. Social media app TikTok has also been banned on the island. Listen to what the French Justice Minister had to say.
It is thanks to mobile phones that people get together, exchange information, and sometimes form criminal gangs, commit looting and violence. So it's only natural that we should put a stop to this medium that allows people to communicate and not to communicate. I was going to say in a normal way, but to communicate in order to commit crimes.
While the violence has subsided for the time being, there are other problems at hand. According to the government, the island is left with food stock for only 2 months. 80 to 90% of the grocery distribution network in Nomia has been wiped out. This includes shops, warehouses, and wholesalers. Large crowds of people were seen gathering outside a supermarket, waiting for food and groceries. Many of the roads still remain blocked. Authorities are trying to clear routes to hospitals so that the injured can get the required treatment. Needless to say, things do not look good. Will the situation worsen in the coming hours? Or will France manage to get a grip on it? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Has China realized that it's communist? We asked that question because of a recent crackdown by Chinese social media companies, targeting posts that show off personal wealth. You heard that right. Social media giants Tencent, WION, that is the Chinese version of TikTok, Sina Weibo, which is China's equivalent of the platform X, Bilibili, lifestyle sharing platform Xiaohongshu, are at the heart of this movement. They are actively removing posts that are supposedly boasting their wealth, such as showing off luxury cars, expensive properties. Posts seen as bragging the freedom that comes with being rich have also been removed. Weibo has taken down more than 1,100 posts. WION, meanwhile, removed over 4,700 messages and 11 accounts in the first week of May. Xiaohongshu said it has cleaned over 4,200 illegal posts and closed 383 accounts in the last 2 weeks. Yes, the term illegal was used. Why is this happening? What's going on? Has the superpower finally realized that it is a communist country after all? The social media platforms say they are addressing concerning trends that have become prevalent on the internet. The trends of extravagance, wastefulness, flaunting wealth, and materialism. This appears to be part of the Chinese authorities' nationwide campaign that began in 2016. The campaign to, quote, purify the internet cultural environment, quote unquote. But you know what? The Chinese Communist Party can strive for common prosperity all that it wants. Despite its crackdown on billionaires and businesses, the gap between the rich and the poor is still increasing in the country. According to China's National Bureau of Statistics, the income gap in Beijing last year reached its peak since data collection started in 1985. In 1978, 27% of China's national income was earned by the top 10% of the population. In 2015, the share increased to 41%. It surpassed France's 32% and neared America's 45%, which, by the way, is a very capitalist country. Then what really distinguishes a communist China from the others? Certainly, its harsh policies and its whims to crack down on its people. Social media platforms, in fact, have asked users to avoid promoting materialism and malicious marketing and strive for a harmonious China. But you see, beneath all of it, it is still an attack on the freedom of expression. This one is online. Many such crackdowns have appeared offline in the past. Last year, in September, Beijing amended laws to prohibit comments, clothing and symbols that hurt national sentiments. Before that, sports administrators announced that they would be banning tattoos for the national football team members. Those who had them already were asked to get them removed or cover them up. In August 2020, the Chinese government launched Operation Empty Plate. This was a campaign to stop food and beverage waste, essentially. Restaurants were asked to start a system called N1 ordering. In this system, a group of customers must order one dish fewer than the number of diners. The campaign aimed to cultivate frugality among the Chinese. Waste is shameful, thriftiness is honorable, said the President Xi Jinping in a speech. In 2018, the government announced a reform of the wedding industry. It called for an end to, quote-unquote, vulgar wedding practices. This included expensive wedding gifts, lavish ceremonies. Shifting focus for now, Ukraine's top commander is admitting that Kharkiv is under immense pressure. Volodymyr Zelensky, in fact, has cancelled all his foreign trips and is confident of his troops' performance on the battlefield. But on the battlefield, Russians are pressing ahead. However, the Russian president has made stunning claims that he does not intend to capture Kharkiv. So what really is happening? Our next report getting you the details.
The battle for Kharkiv is raging. Ukraine's top commander warns of heavy battles looming on the war's latest front. Russian forces launched a sudden attack in the Kharkiv region last Friday and has ever since been slowly inching ahead. Facing heavy bombardment, the Ukrainians are forced to retreat. Between May 9 and 15, Moscow seized 278 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory. Russian president, who is in China on a two-day state visit, says that he has no intention to capture Kharkiv and reveals the reason why he is targeting Kharkiv.
They shoot and, unfortunately, continue to shoot residential areas of the bordering territories, including Belgorod. Civilians are dying there. It is obvious they are shooting right in the city center, in residential areas. I said publicly that if this continues, we will be forced to create a safety zone, a sanitary zone.
The Ukrainians are desperately waiting for American weapons, this at a crucial time when Russians are seemingly snatching the upper hand on the battlefield. Time is undoubtedly the enemy in this high-stakes scenario. Now there is another setback for President Zelensky. Denmark says that the promised delivery of the first batch of F-16s would only arrive in the next few months. Ukraine is banking on these US-manufactured fighter jets to give it much-needed air power. Russia has already issued stern warnings and likely ramped up its air defense systems, including advanced anti-aircraft systems specifically designed to counter F-16 jets. Each day that passes provides Russia with more time to fortify its defenses, potentially negating the advantages that the Western weapons could bring to the Ukrainian forces. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
This story is about the menace of deepfakes. Yes, they continue to wreak havoc. The Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission has warned of a scam and issued a public warning. What exactly is this scam about? Deepfakes of Elon Musk are being used to promote a cryptocurrency trading platform. Now, there have already been multiple cases of deepfake-related incidents of fraud in Hong Kong. In fact, deepfakes have already caused tens of millions of dollars in losses. Tens of millions of dollars in losses. According to a report from identity verification platform SumSub, deepfake incidents in Asia-Pacific increased 15-30% last year, 1,530%. Vietnam and Japan saw the most attacks. Now, we earlier on the show told you how deepfakes can also steal your money. By now, we do know that deepfakes mean deep trouble, but what if they can actually cost you money? The victim in this case was a multinational company. Its Hong Kong office fell prey to deepfakes. Deepfakes were used to steal over $25 million. That's over 200 crore rupees. You heard that right. And it all happened through deepfake technology. An employee was basically fooled into thinking that the conversation was taking place with colleagues, but they were digitally recreated versions. And you know who all were digitally recreated? The company's chief financial officer and some other employees. The company's CFO was cloned using deepfake technology, and this digitally recreated version ordered money transfers. This was during a video conference call. The employee was fooled into following instructions to carry out transfers to 5 Hong Kong bank accounts. The company ended up losing $25.6 million as a result of this deepfake related scam. So all of this triggering a big question: for how long can we let deepfakes continue to wreak havoc before they are actually reined in? You see, there is no getting away from artificial intelligence. It's increasingly becoming a part of our lives, in fact, and there is a lot happening to improve the skills of machines. What am I talking about? First, let me ask you this. Are you fluent in sarcasm? Depends from person to person, right? I won't be surprised if the very mention of the word sarcasm makes you think of Chandler Bing from the sitcom Friends. It does for me. Of course, we all know him as the master of the art of sarcasm. But what if machines could be fluent in sarcasm as well? Researchers in the Netherlands have built an AI-driven sarcasm detector. Yes, an AI-driven sarcasm detector. The aim is to ease communication between human beings and machines. Understanding sarcasm is crucial if the communication between human beings and machines has to take place seamlessly. You see, when we talk to machines, we have to talk in a literal way, but that is not really how human beings function in real life. So the aim is to change that and make conversations with AI assistants more fluid. And the same approach could be used to detect negative tone in language and detect abuse and hate speech. Basically, making programs more familiar with how human beings actually speak in real life can help people interact with them more naturally. But then what if machines start throwing sarcasm back at us? We are headed for very interesting times, and I'm not being sarcastic here. And on that note, we're taking a very short break right here. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Gravitas.
This week on Melt, all about artificial intelligence and marketing, from ambiguities and challenges to successful implementation examples. And yes, even its impact on your job.
AI is in its very early stages, and we got to be comfortable with the fact that we don't have all the answers right now.
The human element is absolutely essential in ensuring that we are ethical in how we leverage AI.
I actually see AI being able to complement a marketer in helping him or her understand better about the consumer needs.
This week on Tech It Out, we tell you how artificial intelligence is helping people regain voice. We show you new AI-powered TVs that can help improve your viewing experience. And find out how drones can help tackle deforestation. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
And welcome back. Thanks very much for staying on with us. You are watching Gravitas. In the United States, Senator Robert Menendez has been accused of accepting bribes in exchange of helping foreign governments. His defense lawyers in the opening statements appeared to pin the blame on Menendez's wife, who is also a co-defendant in the case and is suffering from cancer, as the senator has revealed. Our next report giving out the details.
On Wednesday, US Senator Bob Menendez's corruption trial kicked off, with a big revelation about his wife and co-defendant Nadine Menendez. Bob dramatically revealed that Nadine will require a mastectomy for breast cancer, just after his lawyers had blamed her for all his wrongdoings in the court. In the opening statements, the lawyers argued it was not Bob but his wife, Nadine Menendez, who was part of an international bribery scheme. Nadine is to be tried separately in the case. The couple is accused of accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes for aiding the governments of Egypt and Qatar. The co-defendants also include Bob's two business associates. All four have pleaded not guilty. The trial started as a blame game. Prosecutors called Nadine Menendez a go-between in trading political influence for bribe. But the senator's lawyer suggested she was a driving, deceitful figure. Defense lawyers argued that Nadine had financial concerns she kept from her husband. According to them, Nadine engaged in cash and gold exchanges of which Bob was not made aware. And just after his lawyers made these statements, Bob revealed that Nadine suffers from an advanced stage breast cancer. At the request of her lawyers, Nadine's trial was shifted to July. It will be seen if her health condition will bring about any mercy decision. While the allegations against Bob have put his long political career on the brink. Bob Menendez was the top-ranking Democrat on the powerful Senate Foreign Relations Committee for over 5 years. He was removed as chairman after he was charged. He is not running for elections in next month's Democratic primary, but has said he will consider an independent bid should he be exonerated.
South Africa is heading to the polls in less than 2 weeks. There is a lot of uncertainty, not just for South Africans with voting rights, but also for those living in the country for many years. WION spoke to a few people from the Indian diaspora to get their reactions. Our next report telling you more. 3 decades ago, South Africans voted in the first ever election held in the country. It was a defining moment. 30 years on, the political landscape of the nation stands at an important juncture again. Experts and polls alike project that the ruling African National Congress may lose majority. The mandate may pave the way for a coalition government. Not just natives, but immigrants, particularly the Indian community, is bracing for the road ahead.
The way we live from 1994, and even prior, that unity, especially we said rainbow nation, that sustain, we are always that feel very warm welcome in South Africa all the years in the ruling of ANC. Whoever come in power, that may remain and look after all the people, different religion, different creed, and the things that always we stay together.
Jharna Dixit has been living in South Africa for the last 24 years with her family. She says the country has treated her well and believes it has great opportunities. In this election, she hopes the party that takes care of all people living in South Africa, regardless of their nationality, should win.
As a foreigner and who lives in South Africa and feel like South Africa is our home now, we feel like we are hoping that we can have election which is transparent, democratic, and we can elect someone who can listen to each and every person who is residing in South Africa, take care of their well-being, their rights, their security, regardless of their nationality.
For decades, the country has battled mounting issues like corruption, unemployment, power shortages, and economic growth ridden with challenges. Can a changing political landscape alter the country's fortunes? Is the million-dollar question.
South Africa, better known as the Rainbow Nation, has lived up to its name for 3 decades. People of all race, color, and background live in this country together, and as the country prepares to go to the polls, people in the Indian diaspora are hoping that whichever party wins, it must continue to live the legacy of Nelson Mandela and stick to its true name of Rainbow Nation. This is Caledonia from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.
Time now for Gravitas Recall. It is the 17th of May. Let's have a look at what happened on this day in history. In 1978, on this very day, Charlie Chaplin's coffin was found. The legendary comedian had died on Christmas Day in 1977. He was 88 at that time. 2 days after his death, Charlie Chaplin was buried in a village called Corsier in Switzerland. But on the 2nd of March, Chaplin's coffin was stolen. Soon, the comedian's family started receiving ransom calls. The Chaplin family was asked to pay $600,000 for the body. Charlie Chaplin's wife, Una, said she would never pay a ransom for her husband's remains. Asked why, she said, and I'm quoting here, Charlie would have found that ridiculous. The family kept silent about the ransom calls, and this fueled numerous rumors. Some reports claimed neo-Nazis could have stolen the coffin. Others pointed the finger at anti-Semites. A crazed Englishman also was named. Cut to the 17th of May 1978, the Swiss police said they have arrested 2 men, a Polish national aged 24 and a 38-year-old Bulgarian. Cops said the 2 confessed to stealing the coffin and reburying it. In fact, the robbers had reburied the coffin in a cornfield about a mile from the Chaplin home. But why did they steal the body in the first place? One of the thieves said he was inspired by a similar case he had read in an Italian newspaper. He hoped Charlie Chaplin's coffin would be the answer to his financial problems. The Chaplin family said they were relieved that the ordeal is over. Charlie Chaplin now rests in a theft-proof concrete grave. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Have a good weekend. Thanks for watching.
This week on WION E-Club, we tell you about India's history at the ongoing Cannes Film Festival.
At last,
find out all about the Bridgerton franchise as the new season of the hit show starts streaming online. And meet the Indian actor-producer duo Rajkumar Rao and Nidhi Hiranandani as they talk about their latest movie, Shrikant. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, on WION at these times. This week on WION E-Club, We tell you about India's history at the ongoing Cannes Film Festival.
At last,
find out all about the Bridgerton franchise as the new season of the hit show starts streaming online. And meet the Indian actor-producer duo Rajkumar Rao and Nidhi Hiranandani as they talk about their latest movie, Shrikant. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, on WION at these times.
This week on Inside South Asia, wave upon wave of massive protests in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir forces Pakistan to fork out $86 million for the region. But will residents of exploited POK be mollified? India inks 10-year deal to operate Iran's Chabahar port. US warns of potential risk of sanctions. Decoding New Delhi's series of concessions for Mali despite distinct anti-India, pro-China moves by the Maldives under President Muizu. Over 3,000 people killed as flash floods ravage northern Afghanistan, picking up the pieces an uphill task. This and more on Inside South Asia.
Lawyer's critical comments on TV against President Kais Saied throws the country in disarray, triggering a lawyer's protest and clashes with the police against a belligerent North African leader. Nigerians divided over Prince Harry and Meghan's visit as the couple stirs controversy with their dress code and protocols. And Libyan Abdel Fattah al-Saadi shares his food and sleeps with predatory animals who have become his pets in Tripoli. World of Africa, at these times on WION, World is One.
The biggest democratic exercise on the planet ever. Decoding the multiple colors of this multi-dimensional, multi-layered spectacle. WION deciphers the images and the hues, sifts real performance from rhetoric and noise, claims and counterclaims, populist pitches and hidden truths, untangling, unraveling this celebration of democracy.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport